What is MIPIM is a really good question. MIPIM is an international property conference held in the south of France every year, brings people from all over the world together to talk about property, but actually it's not really property. Really what people are talking about are places and how you create brilliant, thriving cities. It's something that we've supported for many years because we can see the power of bringing together partners across the cities to come together in one place at one time of year to think about the future of those cities and what it is they need to do to drive growth. We're supporting Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool, Birmingham and also Cheshire, so really kind of broad breadth of activity. From the team, we're doing 14 events over the course of this week. This video has been made on Tuesday when we're all feeling quite fresh. I think by Thursday we'll be feeling quite tired, having done all of those panel events, presentations and loads of meetings in between so that we can get the Bruntwood message out but also understand what the opportunities are for the cities and how we can best support them. So we've got some really interesting events going on, and I won't name check everything, but Chris Oglesby is talking on the Manchester stand about becoming a zero carbon city and the role that Bruntwood is going to play in that. That's going to be a really key event, I think, in the week. Chris Roberts is talking about innovation districts. He's doing that for on both the Leeds stand and the Belfast stand. I've been talking about Northern Powerhouse Rail and also talking about the future leadership of our cities and where the next generation of talent is coming from. And Tom Wren is out here talking about Kyogen and the work that we're doing around City Labs.
If you listen to those like Bruntwood, and we've got Jessica joining us today from Bruntwood, you'll be able to understand the link between property and economic activity. Because in reality, those people that occupy buildings are customers. They're customers of the property industry. And how we demonstrate how we can respond to emerging trends, economic opportunities, using property as a lever to help enable economic growth alongside infrastructure, I think is really important.
The really important things we need to do is connect the cities better together. Each city on its own is quite a big economy, but it's not that big. And so what we need to do is create economic opportunities between the cities, and for that we need better connectivity. So Northern Powerhouse Rail has a really important part to play in that.
If you look at what has happened in Manchester, the partnership with Manchester University, that was part of the attraction really for us as LNG, for a model that we wanted to work with the Bruntwood SciTech team to replicate across the country.
One of the things we're doing as this stand session at MIPIM has just highlighted is looking at best practice from across the world. And when it comes to climate change, Scandinavia, and particularly the European Green Capital of 2019, Oslo, can show us the way. We had the Mayor of Oslo at the session that we've just done, and clearly that balance between carrot and stick is such an important thing, presenting a positive agenda in terms of the additional cost rather than it being a burden as such. And also getting the public and private sector working together. The public sector's got a big part to play through, as Oslo identified, through their own procurement, from leading from the front as well. But then working with the private sector on innovative solutions too. We've got 7 years of our current carbon use left for eternity. So something's got to happen, and something's got to happen fast. What the city's done so far is to get its main carbon creators together to form a strategy with them. The big question now is getting the rest of the city engaged behind the agenda and really starting to deliver. One of the big things that Bruntwood can do is to ensure that we continue to acquire our energy from sustainable sources, either getting into production directly ourselves, which we're doing through PV, through combined heat and power solutions, alternatively working with partners who are generating clean energy as well.
So at the moment we're in a really exciting kind of point in time where there's an intersection between these new technologies and I think companies interested in actually deploying them within buildings and within workspaces. And the kind of motivation for that has really been driven both by what we need to do to kind of differentiate ourselves, to appeal to customers, those that want new smart buildings, that want to work within green, carbon neutral environments, but also then much more than that, from our own point of view, how can we make building commercially more viable by deploying some of these technologies. So there's kind of customer driver and also commercial driver. And now the biggest problem that we face within workplace technologies is there's so much choice. Which company to use. The ones that we've been really kind of starting to see creep in to our development is more around VR and AR. We're bringing design to life, trying to better understand the spaces that you're designing, how they're going to work, how do they really come to life before you build it. And that's something that we've got a lot of companies working in this space. Companies like Matterport are quite interesting as well, where they 3D scanning the whole buildings with a view of actually creating digital twins. So that's some stuff we've started to see. Some of the exciting technology, or what we consider to be exciting, is really around sensor technology and how that can give you a better insight as to how buildings are being used, how are your customers using it. And one thing we've started talking about is actually trying to provide less space to our customers, which seems a bit mad for a company that generates its returns from actually giving space to customers. But what we want them to have is a really enjoyable experience. We don't want them to be overpaying, we want them to be utilising the space well, for that to be driving great behaviours and culture for their team. And so by deploying sensors across the building, we can better understand air quality, we can understand noise, we can understand occupancy, and then that insight that data drives means you can then redesign spaces. So if a customer comes to us and says we need to expand, we can actually go, well, actually maybe we should deploy something in your space for 3 months, better understand how you live in it, and then we could look at redesigning it and making it better, better for you, as opposed to going through the expense and sort of headache of moving. So I think it's exciting for us because it's a change in how we're going to work with customers.